Welcome to Build a Better Career, the show that helps you build a better career so you can create a better life. I'm your host, Diane Bogino. It's a great pleasure for me to welcome Renee Lee Rosenberg to the show today. Renee is known as the Positivity Pro, is a career transition counselor, an international speaker, and an emotional intelligence coach. Renee works with organizations and individuals offering tools to improve intergenerational communication, interventions to keep stress at bay, strategies to defeat ageism, stereotypes in the workplace, and strategies to identify and build a successful career and fulfilling happy life. And now here's Renee to tell us how we can live a happy life and fight ageism. Renee, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on today.
Oh, thank you, Diane. I'm very excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear everything you have to say because this is a great topic. But first, let's start with your business name, Positivity Pro. What inspired you to call your counseling business Positivity Pro? Because that is the name of your business, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, when I started my business, I was working with teachers. I was doing outplacement for teachers in the New York City school system. And they were coming in rather depressed, angry, fearful, worried, sad, every negative emotion you could possibly think of. The only thing they weren't coming in was being positive. And I thought, I have to start with positivity because negativity was pulling them down. They were not going to be successful in moving out of teaching and finding where they really needed to be. And they weren't even ready to listen to me. And it seemed to me that if they would know that I'm going to start with being positive, that when they came to me, that they would maybe start thinking about that before they actually walked in the room, that this is the Positivity Pro. And Diane, it actually worked.
I can imagine.
I
Mindset, right?
Yeah, the mindset, very important. Attitude, you need to have the right attitude. Negativity just pulls you down. And as you know, negativity is really, we're hardwired to be negative 75% of the time, those thoughts that run around in our head. So we're fighting a battle always to stay positive.
Yeah, that self-talk is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely. So I really wanted people to know that when they come to see me, they're going to be working on being positive.
Renee, as a seasoned career coach and a mental health counselor with many years of experience, have you seen changes since the pandemic in people's attitudes toward the workplace?
Oh, yes, so much has changed recently in the attitude that people have. We've heard of this great resignation, that people are retiring, people are leaving the workforce, and they're actually not leaving the workforce. Well, they're leaving it, but they still want to work. So they just don't want to be in the jobs that they're in anymore. The pandemic has pushed people to think differently. It's something they didn't expect, they didn't prepare for, and they didn't plan for. And so it's something that has taken people by surprise, but sometimes in a good way, because what has happened is that they've all gone home to work. And this is something that my clients have been trying to negotiate for years. We want to work a day, a week, a day, a month, just one day to work from home. And suddenly here they are at home all the time with lots of time to think. And of course they're working, but they're working differently. And when they're thinking, they were thinking about what I find is this Japanese concept called ikigai, which is the reason for being. They're starting to think about what's their reason for working? What is the happiness that they want in work? What is the joy that they want to find in everyday life? And so they're changing the way that they look at work. They're changing attitudes. They want to work, but they just don't know work the same way. They want to work with companies that have meaning for them. They want to work with purpose. They want to work and be acknowledged and do things that make a difference.
Yeah, it's not your grandfather's workplace anymore, is it?
No, it's not. You're not just working to work. And the attitude has changed greatly.
Now, you do work primarily with older workers, so what you're talking about is really interesting. So what do you feel companies need to do today or to implement to keep older workers at work and to retain them and keep them engaged?
Yeah, this really is part of the first question that you asked earlier is, what is the attitude change? And the attitude change has to take place in the company, not just in the individual worker. And the company has to learn how they can acknowledge all workers, particularly older workers. There's now a talent drain, the talent shortage, and companies are starting to see that older workers really can fill this shortage, and they need to treat them better. They need to stop thinking that they're not being able to contribute, because the older worker is the one who really can contribute the most. I have a client recently who was just let go at 65, but he knew early on when he turned 60 that he would be pushed out. And the truth was, these companies started treating him, and he was waiting for that. He'd been there since in his 30s. He was waiting to see if this would be true with the way they were treating other workers of 60. When he turned 60, they started ignoring him. They started not giving him any additional work. They weren't sending him on training as they were sending the newer workers and the middle workers. He was just being kind of sitting there. And so he decided he'd take things into his own hands, and he'd start mentoring the new hires, because he was watching them and they didn't really know how to talk to customers. They didn't know how to get the sale. They were very uncomfortable and very unsure of themselves. So he started talking to them and became the unofficial mentor of these new people. But the company never acknowledged him and never acknowledged that. They just let him be. They just said, just do what you do until you leave. And when he did finally leave, these new people were crying. They wanted him to stay, and the company finally realized what value he was. So I say companies need to understand and need to look at their older workers and see where they can fit in, maybe in a different job function, maybe not the same thing they've been doing for so many years, but maybe as a mentor, as a teacher, as someone who can run a program, can train others, other things that they can do, different functions on the job that would make everybody happy and more profitable.
It's interesting that our leadership, many of them in government, are in their 70s and 80s. Yet we think somebody can't do an everyday job that's in their 70s or 80s. It's crazy.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you refer to yourself as a radical anti-ageism advocate. Now that sounds pretty serious, Renee. You look so demure and non-dangerous right there. Tell me about that.
Yeah, our culture is based on numbers. Everything is a number. and we've got to get away from that number. And we're all been culturalized to think that way. Everything, every concept that we think about, every big event, everything has a number to it. Little boys, when they're not so little, but when boys become 13, we tell them, now you become a man. 13 is the big bar mitzvah, the big tradition. When girls become 16, we feel then that they've moved on to the next level of womanhood. When we vote, they tell us when we should vote. They tell us when we should drink, when we should buy cigarettes. They tell us when we should drive a car. Different ages are in different places, but everything's a number. And the number for older workers that gets so worried, all my clients, is 40. When people are 39, they say to me, Renee, I need to do something about my career before I turn 40. 40. Why is that? It's because the culture has told us that this is the number that we now can actually press charges for. The Anti-Discrimination Act starts at 40. So people in their head think, okay, at 40, they're going to start discriminating against me. It's crazy. And then people 60 feel that they're way too old. And this client, as I mentioned earlier, he really felt that when he was 60, they would start to push him out. He had heard that when he was 30, that was going to happen. And sure enough, it did start to happen. So we need to stop looking at ourselves as a number. We need to look at how we function. That's the most important thing, and get rid of that number and not use it anymore. And one of my main pet peeves, Diane, is when people, and that's when you see me get really radical. And this is very controversial, actually, when people say 60 is the new 40. Say, no, no, no. 60 is the new 60. This is what 60 looks like. This is what 60 is. What does a person 40 think about you if you say that you're really the new 40? They just look at you and say, can't be, you're too old.
That's right. That's right. And they say, you have no idea, right?
And we're all going to get there. You know, I'm certainly way past there. And so many of my clients are way past that number, and they're doing just fine, but they know how they function and what they bring to the table.
Right. You know, I enjoyed reading your book, Achieving the Good Life After 50. Are you going to, well, first of all, I'd like to know what inspired you to write that book, but are you also going to do a sequel now?
Yes, I am actually. And this is my book. And thank you so much. I loved writing this book myself because I realized that I have so much experience behind me when I started writing this book, and so many client success stories of people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And some of them not so successful, but working on it, that I needed to put it in a book. And so this book has really, people have really been enjoying reading it. And so I've decided that I need a sequel. I need to update it. And the sequel will be called Achieving the Good Life, 50 and Beyond.
Yeah.
Transitioning and positioning. So it's a little different, and it will be actually a series of 3 books, because this book was quite large, and people have told me they can't carry it in their pocket. It's heavy.
Well,
so
that's true.
Series of 3 smaller pocket books.
Great concept. And where can they get Achieving the Good Life After 50? Is that on Amazon?
It's on Amazon, yes.
Okay, great. Good to know. So what are some suggestions you have for people that are 50 and 60 to conduct a productive job search if they're out there in the job market today?
I would say is to ask why. Why is an emotionally intelligent question. So not only is it a good question to ask, but it makes them feel more emotionally intelligent, which is very important. It makes them feel better about themselves because they start thinking about why. Why am I doing this? And then it leads into what do I want and how do I do it? So the why comes first. And then ask, when you're asking the why, you want to ask, what am I passionate about? What do I really want to be doing? Do I want to still be working in this company? Do I want to be working part-time? Do I want a portfolio career, several different jobs at the same time? What are my choices? And also to know that you're in control. Very important. When people reach a certain age and older workers, so many of them feel that they've been pushed out or pushed around by their company. But no, that's not true. No one can push you out or push you around. They can push you out, but they can't push you around. So know you're in control. Know that you have the confidence, and know that it's your choice of what you want to do next. So take some assessments, find out what your values are, what your skills are now, what you want to be doing. Create some targets, talk to people, and really get out there and network with people that you know and people who know people. And just don't give up and avoid, very important. One of the most important things I love to tell my clients is avoid toxic people. Avoid people who say you can't do it because you're too old. You're not too old. You're not too old. You're confident, you're capable, and you're able to move forward and offer a lot of skills and experience to the right people who want you. Don't go to a place that is toxic, to a company that only hires younger people. Stay away from them. They don't want you. You don't want them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's part of the research people need to do too. When they, I mean, it's a two-way street. They may want you, but do you want them? Renee, can you address, you talked about the sequel to your book and about positioning. What are there behaviors that older workers do at work that they could stop doing or start doing to make them more, for lack of a better word, attractive or energetic or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I think the first one is stop thinking that you're the know-it-all. Stop telling people what to do. It's one of the main problems when you do know so much, and older workers do know. They're so experienced and they're so knowledgeable, but save that knowledge and that experience for the right time when someone asks you. So create the situation so that somebody really respects and acknowledge what you know, and then help them. Don't just flaunt it. Don't make people feel that they don't know. Don't build enemies at work. Build friends, build confidants, build people to support you. Very, very important. And when people support you, then they start to see you as someone they can come to, and then they come to even ask you, as my client, was able to establish, as their mentor. He had people crying, I mentioned that earlier, when he left, and he told me they started calling him at home and asking him if he could come in, and meet them during lunch.
That sounds like a good start to your entrepreneurial coaching career to me.
Yeah, really.
It just so happens that these younger generations have the least business acumen of other generations before them. So yes, that knowledge is valuable, but that's an excellent point about not being a know-it-all.
And I think older workers know that the younger workers don't have it, and it's very difficult, to hold yourself back. But it's extremely important, because you want to build connections and good relationships. And once you do that, then you can say what you want. You can help them, because now they trust you. You want to develop a trust between your coworkers, and you also want to not be talking their slang and their language. You don't want to try to fit in, because you're not going to fit in. So understand the slang, because there's a lot that I don't understand. I'm like, what was that? Look it up. Ask someone quietly, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm a little behind in that, but what does it mean? And don't use it yourself, because it's not your language. But know and let them know that you understand what they're saying.
Great point. And how can people build confidence that are our age? We talked earlier about getting rid of negative self-talk, which is extremely important, and the assessments, which can really help build confidence because they can see exactly the strengths that they have. So what else can people do to build confidence?
Look for things in the company that they think, and it might not even be related to their job function or to the department that they're in, but start talking to people and find out what the problems are in the company, and start seeing and listening to what's happening. Listening is very important. Listening, observing, and seeing. And when you find something that they know, something that can be helpful, then perhaps go to the manager and say, I've noticed this, and perhaps I can help with this, and offer their experience, offer some of their thoughts and suggestions, but in a very polite way, not aggressive, not pushy, but assertive. So you need to be a little assertive. Again, not aggressive, but assertive. You're not going to step on other people's toes, but you're going to act as if you know how you can help them, and that you would be more than happy to do that, even though it might be out of your job function.
So Renee, that's interesting. And what is next for you, and how can people get in touch with you?
Well, what's next for me, Diane, is that I'm actually on my way to Europe next week. I'll be attending the Global Speakers Summit in Dublin, which I'm very much looking forward to. I am a member of the Global Speakers Association, and I speak frequently at the professional speakers associations in Holland, in France, in Germany. And so I'm going to see a lot of wonderful speakers and reconnect with some friends. Looking forward to that. And then in November, I'm speaking at Ambition, which is a conference for business owners to help them get a more productive workforce and to increase and grow their business. And I will be speaking about my favorite topic, the older worker. So I'm very excited about that. Yes.
Great. And how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through my website,
Okay.
The Positivity Pro, or they can get in touch with me through my email, which is rrsnbrg. It's my name without the vowels, at gmail.com. So it's pretty easy to remember.
Oh, Renee, you really brought some great information for organizations to think about and for older people to think about. Do you have any final thoughts for us today?
I do. I'd say stay positive. Laugh whenever you can, because laughter really feeds the soul, it feeds the brain, it keeps us young, it keeps us happy, and it keeps us connected. So keep laughing, be joyous, and think of how you can help others. I think gratitude and confidence are the two most important things we need to have and keep in our life as a constant. And read my book.
Absolutely.
And my new book, which will be out in 2023.
Absolutely. Renee, thank you so much for your great information today. And I hope that you've inspired a lot of people. You've certainly inspired me. And I look forward to speaking with you again soon. Thanks so much and have a great trip.
Thank you so much, Diane. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for watching Build a Better Career. We've been speaking with Renee Lee Rosenberg, Positivity Pro, career transition counselor, international speaker, and emotional intelligence coach. I'm your host, Diane Bogino, helping you build a better career so you can create a better life.